things that we could just make it happen.
We
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Big Facts. We got a good episode for you guys today. I'm here with Justin Everett. Justin, you watched the Phils win today with a complete game. You watched the Sixers win on Friday. It's a good week for Philadelphia. How you feeling about it?
So far, so good. Two positive things. Aaron Nola, after all that shit I talked on him a couple days ago about how he couldn't figure out how to get out of the fourth inning, comes out and hits the Cardinals and goes fucking 9. It was a good game. 2 runs scored. Obviously, there's some issues in this offense that the consistency needs to step up, but it was a good sign from the Phillies. The Sixers game was riveting. Paul George, by the way, you made the whole week fantastic with that thing you sent me on Instagram with a little Paul George little head guy. It says choking hazard. That's so fucked up and so apropos. It was fantastic. But no, man, I'm good. I'm looking forward to this wind down. There it is. I'm looking forward to this wind down of the NBA season into the postseason. Philly's getting warmed up now. Nobody gives a shit about hockey. The Flyers are so bad. And the weather's turning, man. It's going to be nice outside. I had a good week so far, Ron.
Good. So for those that are going to be watching tonight, please watch and comment on the Big Facts page. We'll only be able to see your comments on the Big Facts page. Speaking of the 76ers, while we're waiting for our betting gurus from the Catching 3 podcast, let's start with the Sixers games. They had Brooklyn. Again, it's been very hard to judge some of these games. It's not hard to judge Joel Embiid as a player, but judge these games in general because the top team that we're competing with in the conference has been down a couple of its players. It's looking bad. KD came back tonight and actually hit his thigh off someone's knee and had to go out of the game. So he's out for who knows how long again. James Harden's still out. They did beat the Nets. They beat the Clippers without Kawhi, but they did not have Tobias Harris. Joel Embiid almost had a rough game and still had a great game. So let's talk about Joel Embiid, what you saw at the Clippers game with that win.
I saw comfort in the fact that when he has a bad game, he can still put 35 in. I mean. Yeah. Dude, I said it to end the last show. I said it and I fucking mean it still. I'll say it again. He is the most unguardable shot in the history of basketball. I mean, this guy's mid-range fall away is fucking unbelievable. When he misses, he still shoots. I cannot go further entertaining the idea that because he was injured and missed a handful of games, that Joel Embiid is not the MVP of the league. I'm sorry. I know that Nick Jokic has played every game and he's an Iron Man and he's a little bit better of a ball handler and a distributor. But when it comes to putting the ball in the basket, Jokic isn't close to Embiid. And when it comes to defensive prowess, I mean, Nikola Jokic doesn't know how to spell defense. And Joel Embiid's probably the best or second best defensive big in basketball. I'm tired of pretending like this guy's not the MVP because he missed games because of injury. I don't give a fuck. He's the best player in the league.
So as far as unstoppable shots go, there's 2 guys that would argue with you, and you can rank them however you want, but Kareem fans would argue with you, and Dirk Nowitzki fans would argue with you, seeing as how Embiid kind of took that somewhat from Dirk, that little leg up fadeaway that he has. But Friday's win over the Clippers, he put up 36 and 14. Led the team in the win, 50% from the floor, 16 for 18 from the foul line. And to be quite honest, I thought he got fouled more times than he went to the line.
Had more free throw attempts than the entire Clippers team.
Yeah. So he's the first just to score 35 points in 3 straight games since Allen Iverson in 2006. He's the first Sixer to have at least 36 points and 7 rebounds in 3 straight games since Charles Barkley in 1990. They play the Warriors on Monday. Steph Curry's having a phenomenal run. But let's put some things into perspective here because I went through this. And just if you go on NBA.com or ESPN.com and you try to look up NBA rankings, you don't find Joel Embiid anywhere because this year he actually doesn't qualify given the amount of games that he's missed. But putting this into perspective, I need to do this. He averages 30 points per game. That's 3rd in the NBA behind Beal and Curry, who are both handling the ball at all times. He has 11.1 rebounds per game, 8th in the NBA, right ahead of Jokic. 1.4 blocks per game, tied for 10th. He has the highest player efficiency rating in the league, slightly ahead of Jokic. The Sixers are in first place. I haven't seen anyone guard the guy all year. And so let's go over the names just that are being thrown into this MVP discussion, because I think most of them are very easy to just toss to the side, in my opinion. And there's one or two guys that can kind of sit right there. So we've talked about Damian Lillard. The case for Damian Lillard is he's pretty much carried that entire team. CJ was out for a while. He's playing in the Western Conference. He's averaging close to, I think, 28 points per game. The argument against Dame is what?
He can't get it done. He doesn't have that, right? So Kevin Durant is a guy where you look at and go, that guy can get you there. Joel Embiid, LeBron James, Steph Curry, or Clay, depending on which guy you want to give that to, pre the Kevin Durant years. Damian Lillard's never I love Damian Lillard. Me and you have talked about Damian Lillard to exhaustion. He might be my favorite player in the NBA of this generation. I think he's going to go down as one of the most underrated and underappreciated guys. I think rock solid, he's a Hall of Fame guard. I think he's going to wind up being a top 15 of all time. His offensive ability is great. His range is huge. He's a decent distributor. He does not turn the ball over. He's an okay defender. I love everything about Damian Lillard. But you never watch Damian Lillard on a court and go, that fucking guy's got it. He's bringing that team somewhere. Like, he makes big shots. He's clutch, but he doesn't have that. Again, it's the Kobe factor. It's the when all the chips are down, this guy is going to drag this team over whatever obstacle comes. Damian Lillard's had countless opportunities and just can't get over that hump.
Yeah, and I would even argue, to be honest, that even though CJ was out, it's just a little bit easier than that. The Blazers are 6th in the West. So I have a hard time. If your team isn't a top 3 team and you're not carrying them in some sense of the word, I have a hard time putting you in the MVP discussion. Let's talk about maybe the biggest threat to Embiid in Nikola Jokic, who's got Denver playing well. He's averaging 29, I want to say 11, right under Embiid, and close to 9 assists per game. My biggest argument for them, again, would be, well, the Nuggets are 4th in the West. And as far as defense, they're not even in the same stratosphere.
No. So there's a couple beefs I have with Jokic, and one of them I hope pans out now. Jamal Murray tore his ACL. That combination of Murray and Jokic, I mean, you sat right here looking at me across this fucking screen for weeks talking to me about Jokic and Jamal Murray and why it was important to get
Murray
James Harden.
Well.
I mean, your whole point was look at what this guy was. You need to get James Harden with Joel Embiid. So now that Murray's out, what does that create with Jokic? And I think he's going to be a little bit more of a distributor because he's going to have to. I mean, Jamal Murray is their get-a-bucket guy. You and I love Michael Porter.
He's going to be big in the playoffs.
They have Aaron Gordon's a good player. He's a nice piece. He's not a closer. Yeah. He's not a guy you can count on for every big shot. He's had a great run since that trade. I think he's been a little bit revitalized. But this is where the rubber meets the road, bro. Is Denver going to seriously compete with a healthy Los Angeles Laker team? I don't think so. Is Denver going to seriously compete with a fully healthy Los Angeles Clippers team? I don't really think so. The Jazz, I think, are the most overrated team in the NBA this year. So the Jazz are probably the closest type of matchup to Denver, but that's a knock on them because they're just not that good. Their record's better than they are. Like Phoenix probably mops up Denver. There's so many teams out west. Denver's just not there. And I think that's a big part of why Jokic should not get the automatic. I hate the narrative of James Harden. I fucking can't stand it. It was my least favorite storyline this NBA season. But I would argue James Harden before I argue Nikola Jokic, seriously. For what the effect on the team is and what that team's prowess is and what they've accomplished, I don't think it's close.
Well, let's make that point for a second, because I had been talking about Harden. Now he's out with a hamstring injury. His games played are actually close to Embiid at this point. I think he's like 5 or 6 off from the amount of games Embiid missed. And my argument for Harden was he took a back seat to actually play the point guard position and not shoot as much. He became extremely efficient, which he didn't really have a chance to be in Houston because he was taking all the shots. And Brooklyn was fighting for the 1 seed, and they did it most of the season with Kyrie having manic episodes and KD just out of the lineup, basically. So James Harden was the glue that was holding that team together to keep them around the first place mark for quite some time. And it's a shame he went out with a hamstring injury. And now, to your point, I don't know what that team's going to look like come playoff time. KD started tonight, banged his thigh, and had to go out of the game. So it's just a fragile team that I'm not sure has the mental makeup. And I will say one thing for Brooklyn, their backups and their depth have mightily improved throughout the season to the point where they are hanging with starting lineups, but they're just spending a lot of energy doing it, and they need their pieces.
Yeah, and I mean, you lose LaMarcus Aldridge, surprisingly, which, I mean, again, you can't blame that guy. I mean, when you're 36 years old and you have a health problem, you probably stop fucking playing basketball when you've made $200 million over your career. I saw an article the other day with a really, really good argument. There's a guy who I think should be as locked into the guy or second place in the MVP race with Joel Embiid, and he never gets talked about. Like, I have not heard one human being to me mention this other than this article. And there's a lot of statistical reasons I could go to, but if you're a basketball fan, you just hear his name and go, that probably makes sense. Chris Paul has done unbelievable things with Phoenix. I mean, to look at what they have accomplished as a team with really only one major difference, which is Chris Paul. I mean, again, we talked about last year, Oklahoma City was supposed to be a lottery team, and they sneak into the playoffs. Last year was a weird year. We had the bubble and the fucking COVID and all that other shit. Phoenix was going to be better. We knew that with Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Did anybody here? I know I didn't sit on this fucking this show and say Phoenix would be a 1 or a 2 seed. I would have never believed that that's how well they played. And Chris Paul deserves to get a little respect put on his name, and he should be considered. If we're going to talk about Embiid's injury being a problem, I vote Chris Paul over Nikola Jokic 11 out of 10 times.
Yeah, he's gonna get some votes, and if he doesn't, it's a shame. They're competing for the 1 seed, and Donovan Mitchell's out now. So let put that in perspective for a second, because we're going to talk about all these other guys. If Phoenix ends up with the 1 seed, Chris Paul is going to end up being the front runner within the next 10 to 15 games as the season winds down, because he's played almost every game. And like we talk about stats because we fall in love with this. He's still averaging 15 and 9 as a point guard and a great defensive player. He's probably got, I'm assuming, over 2 steals per game. And he locks other point guards down.
For sure.
I would be right with you there. So we rule out Kyrie. We because he's just been manic. We rule out Harden now just because he's had the hamstring and he's going to sit out for a while. KD's out of the picture. LeBron's been out for too long. So there's two other guys I think, and you can bat those down almost immediately. One, we were just talking about this before we came on. Steph Curry's playing out of his fucking mind coming towards the end of the season, just trying to get the Warriors into the playoffs. Made more threes in this past week than I think 5 NBA teams, it's just sick watching it. If anybody's watched the Warriors, and just I don't know how much you've watched the Warriors, I was giving Steph at the beginning of the year because they were losing so badly a lot of shit. I'm like, well, LeBron could fucking probably take this team to the finals. And the problem with the Warriors is everybody's getting open shots. Steph's creating a massive amount of space. But you have Kelly Oubre over there. You have Andrew Wiggins over there, and you have a bunch of guys that just aren't shooters that you're trying to make into shooters. And I kind of put this overall on Steve Kerr. And the reason I put it on,
he's a big coach, bro.
The reason you can't look anywhere else, right? Because Steph is doing everything you're asking him to, but you're trying to win games by making guys who aren't shooters shoot the basketball.
I don't care what anybody tells me. You don't need to be a good coach to have 3 first ballot Hall of Famers, a fringe Hall of Famer, and a great bench to win titles. It's not hard. You and I could do that, bro. It's just Steve Kerr's never been a good coach. I mean, you're looking at this run that they're on now. Steph Curry's playing like a fucking monster. And that's the reason why they're on the run. It's not because Steve Kerr's a good coach. They're so bad because Steve Kerr doesn't play to the abilities. Kelly Oubre doesn't take mid-range shots. If you want Kelly Oubre to shoot, that's the only place he can do it from. Or he's driving to the rim. They're his two abilities.
They got
Andrew
some great
Wiggins.
cutters.
Andrew Wiggins, same guy. Absolutely. Yeah. You have Wiseman, who's a legit big-bodied center now. Set some fucking screens. Send those guys running to the hole. You don't need to score threes when you don't have Klay Thompson out on the floor. And when Kevin Durant plays for a different team now. You have to be able to adapt and adjust, bro. This is when we talk about Spo being a great coach. Spo adapted the Dwayne Wade years to the Goran Dragic years, and then now to the Jimmy Butler years. And he just continues to find a way to make his offense effective, regardless of the guys that he's given. I mean, Derrick Jones Jr., they start running all these drives and alley-oops for when he starts to get hot. Spo adjusts. Steve Kerr is a fucking terrible head coach. Bottom 5 in the NBA.
Not to mention, the last couple years, Steve Kerr has tried to develop a couple guys and traded them off for picks or traded them for depth or traded them for starters, and they never really got a chance to develop. We saw 2 of them last year, Alec Burks and who was the other guy that we got? Glenn Robinson. So they have these pieces they've tried to develop. Well, I just watched Spo in Miami develop Kendrick Nunn, who I believe went undrafted. I saw him develop Duncan Robinson, who I believe came from the G League. He drafted Tyler Hero, who became a playoff hero.
At 17, I think.
Bam, I think, was a late first who took a couple years and he developed. So I'm watching teams do different things with different players, and the Warriors development team and Steve Kerr as a coach just has been really unimpressive. And I know Klay Thompson's out, but nobody can make an argument to me that you plug Klay Thompson in and they're a top 2 team in the West. There's
no way. Not with how well Phoenix has played, not with how well Utah has spent the regular season. I don't see, dude, like this is the argument for why did Mark Jackson get blackballed, right? Like, what could a real coach do with a superstar like Steph Curry when the chips are down, bro? Steph Curry's showing you he'll give you 39 a game. I mean, I think I saw the stat today. It was his last 8 games or 10 games or something. He's scoring 39 points a game. He's on an historic scoring run. Seriously is. I don't understand why Steve Kerr's so bad. I don't get it. Tori, I don't disagree. They do, but look at the guards that they've had. They really haven't had guys to develop.
And Wiseman was playing, and they weren't. It's not like they were like just playing so much better. I mean, Steph at this point, he's like, all right, if we're gonna get into the playoffs, like I have to score 40 points a game, and he's taken on that mentality. And we've seen the week that he has, but the rest of the team still has to step up. It's another reason I hate that we have this argument about the championships that LeBron's lost, maybe outside of the Mavericks one, because I can't even believe that he's gotten to the finals with a couple of those teams. So.
He drugged teams that he had no business dragging, and this is joke, right? When it comes down to, Mike got to 6-1-6. Mike had a team full of fucking future Hall of Famers, bro. Like, that's a fact. Show me 2 Hall of Famers that LeBron's played with before Anthony Davis. Don't worry, I'll wait, because Kevin Love's not one of them.
Yeah, the only 2 Hall of Famers he has in when he played in Miami. So Giannis is the other name that you have to throw in, but it's again, well, you do because his numbers are closer to what they were last year, and it's a regular season award. The issue is obviously nobody's going to vote for him because the same thing happens in the playoffs with him every year, and people get tired, as we've seen LeBron James giving them the same thing over and over. So you can't vote for Giannis just based on what you've seen in the playoffs the last couple of years, and he's going to get discredited because of that, and the voters just aren't going to vote for him.
And it's Joel Embiid's trophy, bro. I don't care anymore. Like, it's, again, the MVP is supposed to be the best player in the world. I know that the term is most valuable, and you're supposed to mean to your team, and your team has to be successful. Throw a million caveats. I don't give a fuck. The award always boiled down to, when I was a kid, when I grew up, the best player. The MVP was the best player of that league of that year. Joel Embiid is that guy by a mile, by a stretch so large, nobody could overcome it if that was the criteria. That's the problem that I have with this. I don't need to weigh anybody else. There's no player in the world right now as good as this guy is.
Yeah, so we'll make that case. We'll continue to make that case. We'll see how the season played out. About to bring in some guests here. We got some special guests from Catching Three. These guys are betting gurus. I have placed probably 40 to 50 bets with them in the last 2 months. I've won a large amount of money that I'll share with you in private sometimes, Justin, and we can talk about some more bets. Maybe you can play some for me since you're up in Jersey and on DraftKings and all that stuff. Which in North Carolina, I have to use like a fucking VPN in order to place any fucking bets here.
Aren't you supposed to be plugging these guys as business, dog? And you're saying privately? Tell them you make tons, bro. It's okay.
The VPN. I have to. I can't. They track your.
They're coming to get you because you hide all your fucking money in that fish on the wall, right?
Track your location, so you can't bet in North Carolina online. So bringing these guys in, our boys from Catching Three, Joey Stacks, Tony Nikki Jr., and Benji Buckets over there. I see you, bud.
Yeah, absolutely.
We brought a surprise for you.
Yeah,
we brought a surprise.
Right. So,
What's happening, guys?
What's up, guys?
What up?
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So we want to get into some talks with you guys because I know Joe, we just finished with NBA talks. Joey's been on fucking fire since you guys started this thing. It's like he's hitting like at a 70% clip, and I'm watching the free picks, and I'm going online and I'm taking everything and I'm parlaying this and I'm betting that, and I'm just fucking winning money. Give me a little insight, because what I've noticed, Joey, with a lot of your picks is, first of all, there's a lot of overs this year. So explain a little bit of what goes into you giving out those bets, you studying this tape, studying these teams, and what goes into the thought process here.
I mean, yeah, this year specifically, dude, the over is hitting at an astronomical rate. It is, it's like these teams, the firepower in the NBA now is just absolutely crazy. You know, there's so many superstars. So I love total plays. I see a lot of value there. They're starting to rise. Like back in the day, you would see totals at 180, 190. That doesn't exist anymore, dude. If you see a total in the low 200s, 210, that's extremely low. Like we're looking at totals upwards of 240 sometimes when we get like a Bucks Timberwolves matchup. We're looking at a 240 total, which is absurd. But as far as my process, there's a lot of factors, of course. We run a lot of analytics here. Basically, I'm going off of my gut. I'm looking at some numbers. We're plugging it in, looking at where the money's moving in Vegas. Obviously, that's a huge factor. I personally love I'll go through the trends. I have a couple different sources where I'm looking at recent trends. Then I'll go to the NBA public betting percentage. I'll see where the money's coming in. I'll see what the line movement is doing based off of that money coming in. And if let's say hypothetically, we got the Pelicans versus the Wizards, two high scoring offenses with shitty defense. So, our total's at 240. Trends are smashed for the over. 8 out of the last 9 for the Pelicans have gone over. 7 out of the last 8 for the Wizards have gone over. So right there, bells are ringing in my head. Let's look at this. Let's look at this over. Then I'll go check, see where the money's at. And if, say, a lot of the money's coming in on the under, let's say for some reason 56% of the betting public is taking the under, that's right there. That's a home run.
Feel good about it.
Yeah, like stuff like that is really what I'm looking for. And now, there's sometimes 10 games on the card, and I'm only filtering through finding one. So you really have to balance everything out and find these trends, and everything has to align perfectly.
So talk to me a little bit, and I'll let Justin follow up with the next question. Talk to me about what your favorite type of pick is when you see trends going on and then the public just betting either for or in the opposite direction, like heavy. I'm not talking about like in the 50s, like when it starts shooting closer to 60, 65. What do you start thinking when that's going on?
I mean, dude, I'll start my day. I'll pop on first thing in the morning. I'll run through all my teams. Just that's really the gut process where I'm in my head tracking. Okay, I like the way this looks before even looking at any trends. Right? Yeah. I'll have a list of that'll narrow down to maybe a few games. Then I'll go in and I'll start looking through trends, and I'll see what trends make sense. Or even vice versa. If I say I go look at the public betting percentage, where the money's coming in, and let's say 70% is on the Kings at +3, right?
Yeah.
Right there, that's the highest bet game of the day, right? So there, I'm already looking to try and find trends that will contradict that play, which a lot of times they do, and that's the secret sauce. That's what I'm looking for. It's not as easy as it sounds. There's really a lot more that goes into it. Like I said, a lot of it's analytical, and
I don't even think your average bettor too. Like really, I don't even know if they know as far as line movements, because it tells such a story, man. Like when you see the public perception going one way, NFL more than any other sport. I know basketball is good too, but when you get a week to look at these games, man, people aren't looking at what that line movement, what that money's telling you. Just the last NFL game, the Tampa Bay Super Bowl, I was saying I love this Super Bowl more than probably any game I had seen, because the money was pouring in on Kansas City. You know, the public perception is Kansas City's this team. They're a dynasty before they even were a dynasty. They had one Super Bowl, and Reed's being crowned, Mahomes being crowned this next dynasty. All that money's coming in, and that line all week, 3.5 down to 3, holding strong at 3 all week. Vegas daring the public, keep coming in on Kansas City. I'm going to leave this line right here. And we said before that game, the line was so construed. That should have been Tampa Bay -1 everywhere. And instead you're getting 3. It's the lock. You know, you read those line movements, man, it changes your perception of a game.
Exactly. Now, like, for example, following up with that, let's say going back to the Kings as an example, let's say the Kings are -3. Public is slamming the Kings, 70% again. Let's say 70% of the public is back on the Kings here, right? Now, at 3.5, you're watching it throughout the day. Money's coming in. You would assume that Vegas would add more points. They're playing more points because, more people are betting. Now, if I see that 3.5 go to 3, now something's up. Why? For what reason would that happen? Basically what Mike was saying. Like, it's public perception, and it's a day-to-day league in the NBA especially. Like, people remember what they saw last night. If a team blows somebody out last night, that's fresh in their head, and that's going to affect the line the next day and the public where the money's coming in. So really, you just got to keep your head on a swivel, as we like to say here at Catching 3, and look out for shit like that.
It's way more complicated than something for a layman, because I don't do this shit. Ron does. I got too many fucking kids for this, but that shit just spins me around in a circle. So my first question is pretty simple. For either of you guys, what are some I listen to I have an hour and 20-minute commute to work every day, so I'm listening to sports radio all the time, and I hear all the betting shows and all the rest of the stuff, and there's always these fucking oddball parlays and who scores first for which team, or what are some of those under the radar weird bets that are some of your favorites to look at? Like whether it's NBA, NFL, some of those parlay type of bets that you guys go to often.
Benny, you want to run?
I mean, I have to jump in since I was known as First Basket Benny when we launched a couple months back. And right now I'm transitioning more to baseball Benny, but still, First Basket Benny, I enjoy the First Basket bets. They're a little more, I don't want to say random, than there's less value simply because they're less predictable as a normal one of our bets. But it's just fun that it's who's going to get the first basket. You get some great value. Get a guy at +1,000, +1,200. You throw $10 on it. Out of nowhere, you turn $10 into 120. It's nice. It's a fun way to get into it for somebody who doesn't necessarily want to follow the numbers like we do, want to get into the main games. But as much as we do, it's a fun little thing I personally really enjoy. And you want to talk about parlaying, it's really nice when you can throw 2, maybe even 3 guys in there and get a mix in these games, especially if you love one guy. Joel Embiid, I heard you guys talking about before we came on. I absolutely loved him for first basket. How many times do you see the Sixers game start off? They're going to feed the big man. He's the center of the offense. He does a little back down, turnaround, bangs a 15-footer that maybe 2 years ago he would have missed, but this year he does it every single time, it seems like.
But for $2 a Sixers game, I might get 2,600 to 1 odds on Ben. One time. You know what I mean?
I'll say this. I wouldn't take it either.
No, I'll say this. Ben Simmons actually had great numbers. I want to say the first half of this season, his first basket numbers was one of the best in the NBA, honestly. Really? And then he kind of fell off a little. I think that MVP talk took over, like you guys were talking about, and that made the Sixers want to feed Embiid to get him that MVP. So it actually stopped getting Simmons that first basket. But funny enough, early, it was paying.
I want to parlay at some point this season and take Ben Simmons for a first bucket 3 at some point.
Okay.
You're getting
See, now you're getting greedy, Aaron. You're trying for too much now.
Yeah, so let's move to real quick. If you were to place a bet today on who's going to win the MVP this year, just with the clusterfuck that it's been,
NBA we're talking.
Who are you betting on today with the type of odds that you're seeing?
NBA, you're saying here?
NBA, yeah.
God, well, so I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. So when you're talking about when to get the best odds too, man, early seasons when you're going to be able to bang on, and this goes any sport, whether you're going for championships or MVPs. Like we got Aaron Rodgers last year, right after they drafted Jordan Love, and you were sitting like something like 28, 30 to 1. And so you get so much value there. We got Embiid earlier this year around 25 to 1. I know now he's sitting around plus 275, and I still don't mind that number. I heard you guys talk about it. Listen, the NBA, the writers decide that MVP, okay? People don't realize that often. Last year, I think these writers realized that was LeBron's to win. I think the playoffs came, and I think they kind of regret it. Not many people go back-to-back. You let Giannis be that back-to-back guy. I think they regret it not going LeBron there. So going into the season, I thought this was the culmination year for LeBron James at 8-1 odds. This is the year if he just does it, they're going to give him that one MVP in LA. It made sense to me. He gets hurt, now he's out. I think truly the writers are looking for any reason not to give it to Jokic, a 4 seed in Denver. Listen, it's a nice story, but that was Murray's team. Okay, I really believe that. Jokic, it's a nice style they play there. A lot of assists. I get it. They can play through him. But to me, Embiid is the MVP. If he keeps running like this, averaging over 35 points the last 4 games, if he's dominating to this extent down the stretch, you have not seen these numbers since Shaq did it when he was 27 and 28 on those Lakers teams, okay? And it took Shaq 4 years on the Lakers to put up those numbers and win this MVP. This, to me, is Embiid's year. If he even 20 games less, Embiid's the win to me.
Especially if he gets the 1 seed. It's
the best player in the world. The best player in the world right now.
A 7-footer moving like that, and his footwork.
With the most unguardable jump shot I've ever bared witness to.
You cannot guard.
Yes, to me, it's his.
I agree.
So let's move on to some football. Justin and I have been back and forth about this a lot. We've ranked the QBs very differently as far as prospects go.
Because you're in love with Mitchell Trubisky 2.0, but that's okay. We'll move on.
He says Zach Wilson's Mitchell Trubisky 2.0. I disagree.
You said that Donovan McNabb was the floor of Justin Fields, and I said if you want me to take that, Mitchell Trubisky is the floor of Zach Wilson.
I didn't say he's the floor. I said his bad is worse than Donovan's bad. It's like he throws.
Donovan's a Hall of Famer, if we ask you, Aaron. Move on to ask these gentlemen a question.
So the third pick in the draft has been back and forth, and I've seen actually the odds change on this. So San Francisco, Mac Jones was the favorite for a while to be taken third. The odds have now flipped, and it's Justin Fields. What do you see San Fran doing with the number 3 pick? Why did they move up? Why do you think there's so much hype around Mac Jones, given like nobody seems to think he should be even a top 3 or 4 quarterback prospect? What's your take on what San Fran does at 3? What do you like?
I'll say this. First of all, I mean, to me, the most overvalued picks in a lot of these drafts is this quarterback position. And now I'm hearing could go 1, 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks. These quarterbacks all the time don't work out. You know, even the last one, Joe Burrow's going 1 overall, huge product of Joe Brady's system at LSU, struggled at Ohio State. Now this number 1. Is he Hall of Fame kind of guaranteed lock at quarterback? I don't see it yet. They hype these guys up. Darnold, all these names, the Rosens, Baker Mayfield. Quarterback's such an overhyped position. So if you're telling me it's going to go quarterback, which it looks like, God, how nice for these teams 4, 5, 6 with guys like Pitts sitting there, all these real name players in this draft. As far as San Fran at 3, listen, it's looking now like they're going to lean Fields. I'm seeing everywhere all the articles, Shanahan talking to him and all. I'm one of these guys that I'm a big Bama guy. Mac Jones, I don't think has been getting nearly enough talk in this draft. I think this is the guy that, listen, he ain't going to come out and start year 1. He's not going to come out and be, I'm going to take the year by storm. If he gets in an Aaron Rodgers-like setting, in a situation, or even a Garoppolo in New England, where he can sit for a couple years, like San Fran was going to do. They weren't to play Garoppolo for the year. Let him learn this system. he did the exact same thing in Alabama with Saban. I think he's the best potential. Call me crazy. Tua, Jalen Hurts, all these guys that I watched at Bama come through. Mac Jones, to me, is the one. He's the guy that could have a really nice career. But at this point, I do think San Fran loves the ceiling of Fields. He can move out of the pocket, has the big arm.
But you don't have any concern at all for the lack of athleticism in Mac Jones compared to these other guys, the Justin Fields, the Zach Wilsons. I don't see the higher ceiling. As a quarterback, arm talent wise, I can get down with you with Mac Jones. He has probably the best natural arm talent in the draft. He comes from Alabama. They're basically a pro school playing in college. I get all that. But his limitations to me means he can't have the highest ceiling. I mean, sure, I feel like there's guys that could do more.
Listen, that's a big thing, but all in college, I heard how Baker can escape the pocket. Let me tell you, you watch these NFL films, Baker looks slow on these NFL films. Darnold escaped the pocket in the college game. He looks slow on these NFL films, okay? Allen obviously is a different breed, but he was, to me, the best quarterback in that draft. It was so obvious after the combine, the way he threw. As far as Jones, the mental is so big at the quarterback position. I understand he's not going to run around the pocket. If you have a line, and listen, it's not Tom Brady. I'm not going to compare him to Tom Brady, but his whole life, Tom Brady never moved outside that pocket. Drew Brees never moved outside that pocket. I think Jones has that type of accuracy, that type of potential, that once he gets in a system for a couple years, dude, this is a known winner. This is a commodity that, listen, maybe he's going to need a little bit of defense with him. Again, he might not be Patrick Mahomes that could take any team and light them on fire. In the right system, Mac Jones would play, and Shanahan, that's that system, man. That's that offensive mind that I would love him with. He loves going under center. I could put him under center. It's just, to me, I like the idea of Jones. I like what he can do.
And I want to interject. I think a lot of these guys are a product of where they wind up going. And so if Mac Jones goes to a San Francisco, that makes him possibly have a really nice career, become Carson Palmer, let's say. But if he goes, let's say, to somebody, the Jacksonville Jags, let's just say something crazy happened and he goes Jacksonville Jags, he winds up out of the league in 3 years.
Let's talk about the Jags.
Let's go Jags. Let me get my Urban Meyer stuff. That's why I have called openly. I've openly called Trevor Lawrence Matt Leinart for that reason, because the Jags are a terrible situation.
Terrible. Okay. If it didn't work with Saban. Listen, I'm an Urban Meyer guy. To me, the Urban Meyer job was USC, dude. Get into USC in a year. He's going to keep the kids in California, dude. He would flip that program around. Jacksonville, Urban Meyer, I'm already hearing him complaining about the draft process, already making his excuses, dude. Tried to bring in the Iowa strength and conditioning coach. Didn't work at all.
Money talks and bullshit walks. He got paid.
But I do want to say, we want to talk gambling value. I have money already on the Jags. While I don't think it's going to be a success instantly, the Andrew Luck possibility, if they go on and win the division or even get a wild card, I want them at plus 20,000. So I'm going to throw a little money on the Jags right now in case it's an Andrew Luck situation, which I don't think it will be. But I'm willing to throw a shot at it for the value.
I've been making this argument so we did a division show a couple weeks ago, and we were looking at the odds. We were looking at the division, and low key. Let's talk about this real quick. The Jags signed like 4 new defensive starters they're not Pro Bowl level type players, but they are NFL like pure starters in the league.
And they already have a lot of young defensive talent on that team.
They got a couple DBs last year. Sidney Jones played well for him. I believe he got hurt. Yeah. James Robinson was running in for a Rookie of the Year. And then they're going to draft Trevor Lawrence. So like they're not I would take the Jacksonville job over the Jets job all day long if I'm a head coach.
Sure. Listen, if we think Lawrence is the best product since, let's say, Andrew Luck, and we saw what Andrew Luck could do, why can't we think that Lawrence can do it?
I can't buy that narrative for a second. I can't go Andrew Luck on Trevor Lawrence for a moment yet. But don't like him.
Maybe not, but that's what I'm just saying. That at least the perception is. I'm not willing to take a little bit of a shot.
This is my division question. This is my NFL division question for these gentlemen, Aaron. Who is the money on to win the AFC East?
The AFC East? Go ahead. It's funny because I wanted to touch on that going in that last division real quick before I touch AFCs. I'm just so in love with the Colts this year that are getting really good value too. That's like a 30-1 Super Bowl play, about a 20-1 AFC play. I just want to touch on because that to me is the division, and there's not enough love. Carson Wentz, 30-1 MVP, back with Press Taylor, back with Frank Reich. This is this 2017 team all over again. He went 33 touchdowns, 7 picks with these exact guys running the offense, dude. No pressure. He's got a defense around him. I know Costanzo just retired for the Colts, but that line's built, running game. Yeah. The Colts, to me, I don't know how that's the team to me in the South. You know, as far as the East, I mean, do I want to? I don't have personally any bet in the East. I mean, I like what Miami's doing. I think Flores is building a product of New England down there. He's a great coach, kind of undervalued. Play with defense. You know. Ben,
I would have to look at the odds to see the exact value. Personally, I love the Buffalo Bills, and I had big money on them last year, and I took them at great value going into the playoffs, so I was able to backdoor it or cover my bet. But I love the Bills. I think they're a very complete team. I love Allen. I love the coaching staff. I think they do great things. I would have to think that Buffalo runs with that, but it would not put it past me if I saw the New England Patriots back in it. So if I see value at +400 or 500. I could easily wind up on the Patriots to win that division.
I was just curious, Aaron, if any one of these guys was going to agree with your 12-win Miami season that nobody's yet to agree with you with, but we just had to try.
Well, I don't listen. I like what Miami's doing down there. I just didn't see much preseason value in that conference. 12 wins, I mean, or in that division. 12 wins.
I don't think I ever said 12 wins. I said they might win the division. With
12 wins and
Steve Young in the division, but I want to believe that their value isn't that high. It's probably like +150, 200.
You said 12 wins and Steve Young in the same sentence just to clear the record there. But
that was Aaron making it funny. So let's do one more thing. We're all Birds fans here. It's the Big Facts podcast. Well, no, we're not. I guess we're not all Birds fans. I'm lying.
No. It's funny. I root for the Birds, but boy, I've been crucifying them of late. I don't know if I should say. I'm a Raider Nation guy, but go ahead, AB.
I know you are. So, I guess we don't really have to talk about the Raiders, right, for this next year.
I'll tell you, dude, at that 51 odds, they don't get much love here. A Super Bowl hangover is the realest thing in the world, okay? Nobody's more overvalued than KC. I'm calling them. Vegas got them once last year, had them on the ropes, had the lead with the last minute in the second game. People think Reed and Gruden's this great story. Oh, they went back to Green Bay together. Serious rivalry, and Gruden has the upper hand in that rivalry. Carr doesn't get enough credit, man. At the long odds these Raiders are getting, I think that division's live. Defense is now a year older, dude. You bring in the right veteran. Sherman's still out there. Casey Hayward's still out there. The right corner in that secondary. They rush the passer. Roll Tide roll all over that, with Ruggs, with Jacobs. Dude, it's a power offense. Don't sleep on these Raiders.
I'm going to crucify him because I'm glad you still believe in Gruden after like halfway through his contract. We haven't really seen
it. You gotta love Gruden.
4 years. You're 4.
Him. Yeah, he's building something.
Takes a while for the quarterback to understand that system, baby. He's kicking in the year.
This is the year. The veteran. So NFC East. This division was so bad last year, right? You almost week to week just didn't know what the fuck was going to happen. The Cowboys are the favorite in the division right now. I believe the Washington, whatever they're going to call themselves, is next. They haven't figured out the name. Giants, I probably believe in the least. And you can make a case to believe in them the most. I believe in them the least. I don't think their defense is going to come back quite as strong. I don't see Daniel Jones would have to take a major step forward. Saquon Barkley would have to come back and just be the guy that they drafted him to be. So I'm big on Washington this year. Is there going to be any like real surprises in that division, or do you think it's going to kind of fall the way it's laid out?
Well, I think to me and you're going to hate hearing this, my least favorite team in that division right now is the Eagles. I can't believe how much things have changed since 2017. Like just this offseason, the simple fact of there was a time everyone wanted to come to Philly. This year, if you look at every big free agent that signed, the Eagles were the bargaining chip for every team. They were the other team. Oh, the Eagles are here. You heard them in on every single player. Not one guy wanted to come here. It's a dumpster fire. I don't think they know what they want. I heard rumors after the Saints win last year, they would love Jalen Hurts. And then once the season ended, they were back not sure on Jalen Hurts. They ruined the Wentz situation so badly. I mean, they ruined this guy who who was an MVP favorite a couple years back. Now you were going to trade him $30 million in dead money, and then I heard they wanted to trade up to $3 million to take a shot on another quarterback. Let me tell you who the shot was. The shot was you pay $30 million to Carson Wentz and give him a chance to be successful again, not trade more assets for another wild card quarterback. I have no clue what they're doing there, and I'm not a big Hurts guy. I remember the Bama days, man. I remember Tua coming in on that Georgia game. I remember how that offense struggled. Everyone's had Big 12 success. Everyone moves the ball in the Big 12. I see Hurts struggles through going through progressions. Not the most accurate quarterback. I think he's Donovan McNabb-like. That's what I see in Philly. So to me, they're the low team. I like what you say about Washington. I think Juan Rivera runs a really good ship there. I think they got a great defense. They rush the passer better than really anybody. And I just think in a division that's down, Washington can take advantage as far as where they are.
That Fitzpatrick and the foreign connection.
Right, Fitzpatrick's nice there on a team like that. I do like the Giants a little bit, though, AB. I like Joe Judge and Garrett. I think Garrett struggled in Dallas because he's not a leader of an entire team, but he's a good play caller. I think he's the kind of guy that works with Daniel Jones. So Judge running the show, I like what the Giants are doing there.
And I do want to say,
Dallas has to win this division, right? Like Dallas has to win this division.
I hate the McCarthy angle. I hated the hire when it happened.
I agree with you. I think he's the worst coach in the NFL right now. I'm with you. But
and you got is Dak coming back 100%, dude? Is that
so let's assume and assuming makes an ass out of you and me. I tell my kids every day. But let's assume that Dak comes back and you get him back full healthy. I don't want to say 100% because that's a fucking crazy injury. Who knows? Maybe he's only 85% the athleticism he had before. But even still, they are head and shoulders, other than their secondary, better than every team in this division. I mean, they've got to one of these seasons they've got to execute.
We say this every year.
And you know what's funny is the year the year the Rams went to the Super Bowl, when they were in that Rams game, they were playing. I said, boy, it's funny. Everyone likes these Eagles. These Cowboys are a problem for a while, I said during that game. I said, this offensive front, they had, all the linebackers. You got Van Den Bosch, the Boise State kid. You got the Notre Dame, Jalen. Just all the talent in the world on that team. And then yet every year I come and it's the same situation, the same bullshit. You think they're going to roll, games they're supposed to have. Then I watch Zeke putting the ball on the ground. Things that aren't supposed to happen in Dallas, I watch it all the time. And, mistakes are breeding. People don't realize the locker room in the NFL is such a big thing. More than if you played high school football, you know this. The camaraderie of a team takes 11 guys doing the right thing on a play to break a touchdown. Because otherwise the backside backer catches you. It's just such a team game. And I've watched the dysfunction in the Cowboys locker room every year. Last year, midway through the season, they're calling out McCarthy and how he's coaching this team. And then
that was like 3 games in. That was like 3 games in.
Already the dysfunction out there. People are getting released. It's a dumpster fire in Dallas all the time. Can I trust them at those odds as the favorite to back them to win it? I don't know if I see that. I don't know. I don't see the value there to me.
They're the favorite.
I do want to push back on your Giants defense falling back a little. The reason why they played above their talent level last year was because of that elite coaching, the exact opposite of Dallas. They talked about how opposing coaches and opposing quarterbacks would have to rewatch these films 4, 5, 7 times before they would figure out the schemes that got run against them. And that just doesn't happen in the NFL. These guys have seen every scheme. So it's one of these things that is elite coaching. And if you have that just on one part of the secondary, imagine what everybody else is getting also.
Well, and we do have to recognize with that elite coaching with Joe Judge, in my opinion, Daniel Jones isn't an NFL quarterback without a head coach like that guy. He just doesn't have he reminds me of Humpty Dumpty, bro. There's just something there that, you know what I mean? He gives you everything he's got. He just ain't got a lot to give. And if Joe Judge didn't have that ability he's got to get out of guys what he does, I don't think Daniel Jones is in this league. You got Saquon Barkley coming back this year. Yeah. Maybe they can make something happen with that offense. I like the Giants as the sneaky pick, which is hard to say in a team full of 4 horrendous fucking teams. But that's I think the Giants are the best value. I want Ron Rivera to win. I think Washington's doing great things. Can I buy Fitzpatrick at 37 or however the fuck old he is now? I mean, there's too many wild cards for Ron Rivera to me in Washington.
What I like about Rivera, though, is, and with that Washington team, Fitz on that team with that defense, all he has to do is not screw up. And that's somebody that won't screw up. And I like, just like Alex Smith did, he'll move the ball. He's not going to turn it over a ton. And with what they're building there, that's what you need to do. But really, both Rivera and Judge, I love what they're building. I think they're building great cultures there, winning cultures. And that's ultimately how you have a lot of success in the NFL for multiple seasons.
And that Washington defensive line might absolutely kill Jalen this season. Like, because the Eagles line, I don't know what they're planning on going out with right now. This is
what we were talking about the last episode coming up to the draft, which I'm sure we're going to have to do our own fucking mock draft 5.0 like the rest of these people.
Right.
It's at 12. If Darisaw falls, if Rashawn Slater falls, it makes sense to take the best O lineman because you have no clue what Andre Dillard is. Yeah, I mean, Mailata should be good. But I got to tell you, I will be so fucking angry if the Philadelphia Eagles take a lineman. It's the worst end. I'd rather than draft a receiver.
I'll tell you though,
that's how you build
Eagles
a good
fans
team.
Have been spoiled. Trey Thomas into Jason Peters, Runyon into Lane Johnson. These guys aren't a dime a dozen like Eagles fans have.
Striking gold in the 6th round on Jason Kelsey. They really have. I mean, they have lucked out on that O-line entirely.
Always. For really, since we've been younger, I've watched this Eagles line. It's been great. So I do love them building if they wanted to go line. I mean, the people to me that were screaming Pitts, they wanted to stay there and get Pitts. The Eagles are not in a position where they can have Goddard and Pitts. You're not good enough for 2 tight end sets like that. You need to build with an interior with the offensive line or get some help at receiver, like you said, because the Reagor, I still have hopes for Reagor, but I mean, going Reagor over Jefferson, I mean, oh my goodness. And at the time, I hated it. I hated it at the time.
Aaron didn't.
I didn't. I love it. You know what the thing is?
God.
You know what the
Can't
thing
write it off yet.
Because how does Jefferson do if he's actually drafted by the Eagles, and how does Reagor do if he goes to Minnesota?
Reagor. Wait a minute. Pause. Reagor doesn't go to Minnesota. That's not how that draft goes. They draft somebody else.
No, he might go to them in the 2nd or 3rd round.
Correct.
My point is, I know Jefferson's obviously the better receiver, and it's not even close. But swapping the situations and what team you go to, and what quarterback you play with, and what the offense is.
If Justin Jefferson goes to the Eagles, Carson Wentz is still their quarterback. That's what happens.
You can't miss that badly on every wide receiver you draft.
You can when you're Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman's job is to save money.
Belichick even whiffs on wide receivers. Notice that. All Bill Belichick's first-round receivers suck.
Yeah, and
Eagles are always the same shit, though. I'm so over the pedigree of the Eagles, the fast, quick receiver. I mean, even this coach, it's always an Andy Reid coaching tree. This guy came from Reid to Peterson to Reich, and now I got the Colts. It's the same thing. How long is Lurie going to side with Roseman? And the same thing every year. And every 5'10" fast guy's not Deshaun Jackson. And that was great, but I hate it when they brought him back. I said, dude, remember they brought him back? I said, this guy's going to have 17 receptions and 270 yards. I mean, it's just they go for the same thing. At some point, I wish they would change it up some. That's my opinion. And it's Lurie all the way down.
They are one of the most frustrating teams to follow. And it is. I say it every single episode, week in and week out. Problems start at the top everywhere. And Jeff Lurie doesn't give a fuck about anything other than his money. He makes more money than he spent. Howie did his job. That's it.
He loves Howie.
So we will have you guys back on either right before or right after the draft. We really enjoyed having you guys. If you guys want to win some money, and I'm not blowing smoke up anyone's ass, I've bet with these guys often, and I win more than I lose. Catching3.com, Instagram at Catching3. Follow them on Instagram. They give out free picks. They give out more picks on the website. They're fairly priced, and you're going to win some money. Nothing you can hate. Guys, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Great time, man. Have a good night, guys.
All right.
That was awesome, brother. They were good.
Yeah, good shit. Lot of good stuff there that
You got somebody to lay some money on Jacksonville with you. I'm happy for you.
I liked it. I think they've made some moves that makes them a betting favorite for people. I don't think they're going to win the division or anything like that. I just think if I'm going to place like 10, 15, 20 bucks on something, I'm placing it on Jacksonville because the odds are so ridiculous.
Sure.
So, wrapping up, what else do we have? We got 5 minutes left. Do we want to stretch this out, Justin, or do we just want to wrap it up here?
I don't know. Do you have anything else you need to cover,
I
Mr.
don't have
Aaron?
anything else. I'm stoked about that guest. That was a good guest spot. That was a
It
good guest
was. It
spot.
was a good time. The conversation was fantastic. I learned some shit. Again,
Yeah.
I don't bet. I don't have money to because I have too many children. Again, but I mean, I think it was a great spot. I think we got some good advice. I love the scores first was their favorite parlay. That was just fucking hilarious.
I bet that a couple times. I won like 2 out of 6, which, makes me break close to even, but up a little bit. It's a good bet. It's fun.
Yeah. And I think, dude, it was great. I'd love to have them on for a regular spot every couple episodes. If we get them on once a month or something, or a couple times a month to talk about that type of stuff. This is a huge market now, man. I mean, there's guys, I listen to these, again, I listen to all these fucking commercials on the radio. They're retirement plans in the sports betting industry now, man.
Well, they're having the fucking ESPN experts place bets now instead of like analyzing the games. They're like, Jackson, this team's plus 3.5. Who do you got? And I'm like, can I just get some? I watch you guys for sports analysis. I'm going to fucking betting for
it is the next multi-billion-dollar economy in this country. I mean, this is what happens, bro. You know how this goes. Civil discourse happens. Trends change. Gas goes up. Shit goes down, bro. Like, that's what happens. Now we're sports betting. Couple of years now, who knows? They might legalize hooking. We don't know what the world's got for us.
I know where all those guys live, so if I lose all my money and I end up in jail, you know what happens. So we will catch you guys on Wednesday. And we'll be back on at 9 o'clock. We will do another mock draft soon. Maybe Wednesday. Let's see. Today's the 18th. Wednesday. That's going to be probably the day to do it. Wednesday or Sunday, we'll do another mock draft for you guys. We'll talk more Sixers. We'll see what happens in the NBA this week, and we'll be on at 9 p.m.
And hey, I'm gonna lay out an expectation I have for you of a segment I want to do on the next episode. All right.
Okay.
I understand that you're not a hockey guy, so don't be afraid to just take whoever you Google. I want to have a conversation, a brief one, 10, 15 minutes, about the Mount Rushmore of the big 4 sports in this country. Football, basketball, hockey, and baseball.
What teams?
What? Nope. Players. Your Mount Rushmore. One guy from each sport which symbolizes to you the sport. I'm not necessarily meaning the best at that sport, but the guy that when you look at, that's fucking baseball. That's basketball. That guy, I want to talk about a Mount Rushmore. So I said it on here so you can't tell me that you forgot to do it, because I'm just going to be, I'm going to be prepared. But let's talk about a Mount Rushmore to just what guys you've got that when you look at A, B, C, and D, that's sports.
I got 3 out of 4 already.
Well, do some more research than that, motherfucker. Jesus Christ.
All right. Charles Barkley bets the day.
Joel Embiid is the MVP of the NBA.
See this?
Big facts, all streaming platforms. Charles Barkley shouldn't be giving anybody any financial advice. Big facts. I'm Justin. That's Aaron. We're on all streaming platforms. We will see you guys on Wednesday. Have a good night, bro.
See you later.